Most of you in 2008 and 2009 saw a crisis develop where you watched your accounts go down and economy go down, and we were pretty sure the end was near. But if you had been retired, what would you have done differently? If you were already retired, what did you do differently? This is why we need to have a process that is put in place that removes emotion, that gives us a discipline, that gives us answers. You're going to have days where you feel better and days where you feel worse, but you need a plan, you need a process. Go to yourlifeafterwork.com. Sign up for your Next Steps meeting. Let's get your process started. You can also call us at 800-928-4001. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Welcome back to Your Retirement Playbook. We are talking about retirement roadblocks. Income is one of those questions. How do you find income in a down market? So here's the question I would pose to you. Remember, all good answers are usually best helped or best supported or best understood with good questions. Should you use additional income streams like Social Security, home equity, or sell other assets to provide for income in uncertain times? They're great questions. So let's really first talk about the source of income. While you're working, for most of us, it's a W-2. We go to work, our employer agrees to pay us money, we get the money, and then we choose to do what we want to do with it after the IRS has their fair share, both in terms of taxation and in terms of Social Security. Then you have these other things along the way that are 1099s. 1099s are interest or dividends or capital gains that come from the sale of assets that are out there. You need to understand they're taxed differently. Interest is always going to be taxed at your marginal income tax bracket. If you're unfamiliar with how taxation works, we talk about that on shows here all of the time, but think about it as a series of stair steps. But you can go to our tax planning channel on YouTube, Your Retirement Playbook, the tax planning channel, will give you all sorts of things of understanding the difference between tax planning and tax preparation, two entirely different things, and you can have an understanding of that. But interest is just tacked right on top of whatever your income is already. Social Security is taxed a little bit differently. There's less of it that's exposed to taxation. Qualified dividends and long-term capital gains, assets that you held longer than a year, are actually considered preferential items and are taxed at a lower rate. But those are really what you're in search of. Now, you may have said, if you're really alert, you may have been listening to the show and said, Joe, you left out coupons. Well, what in the world is a coupon? Well, a coupon is what comes from a bond. And it's important to understand that bonds do not pay interest typically. They pay a coupon. It is a fixed amount of money based on the initial purchase of the bond or the initial creation of the bond, if you will. If you bought a bond in the secondary market that's already been owned by somebody else, your coupon will not change, though the yield can change based on the price that you paid for the bond or the current market that you're in. Those coupons are fixed payments, are still taxed as interest. So you have that same taxation that is going on there. So the first question is, should I change my thoughts on Social Security? Just a brief thought on Social Security. When you say, I'm afraid it won't be there, ladies and gentlemen, fear ye not, the government prints cash. They can do that if they need to. The trust fund will be underfunded at a certain point in time. They just actually extended it by a few years, by the way, which was a really good thing. But when you look at Social Security, that money will be there. What it's able to purchase because of inflation is another story, but it will be there. So don't say that I don't think it'll be there. You can say I don't intend to have to use it. That's a fine attitude if that's really where you want to go. With Social Security at 62, you can start taking a withdrawal. All right, 62 is the magical age. Now, that's not disability or anything else. That is from a retirement perspective. For every year you take it, before your full retirement age, for most of us, that is 67 years old now, when you take it, you're going to get a 6% per year reduction. It's not just per year, it's also the cost of living allowances that come in the future. At your full retirement age, you get the amount that the government gives you. And then after that, you actually have an 8% increase each and every year up to age 70. Now, You can't wait under the current code past 70. If you forget to file and at 72, wake up one day, they'll actually send you checks all the way back to age 70. It's an interesting thing. But here's the interesting issue. There's a part of Social Security where people can ask for a backseat, a do-over. You know, you're playing cards and you throw a card you didn't mean to play, and you say backsies, and you pull it back in. Or a do-over, you want that card back out. You didn't mean to play it down. Now, if you're playing with some of your friends in euchre or one of those other games, they're not likely to give you a do-over. The Social Security Administration will give you a do-over one time over a 12-month period of time. So if you start Social Security and it's been less than a year, and all of a sudden you wake up and you realize, this is a bad idea. I've lost that cost of living allowance that Joe's talked about on Your Retirement Playbook. I don't want to do that. You actually have the ability to pay Social Security back, and it's never happened, right? None to see here. It never, ever happened, and you can go back and then start your withdrawal at age 70 or later into the time, whatever suits you. But if you're looking at a marketplace right now and you've put all of your money inside of the market, which you never should have done, that's why you should hire a fiduciary that's not you. Remember, we all have a fiduciary. It's just for most of us, it's you listening to the show. You're making what you believe to be the best decisions for your financial net worth. If you hire a professional fiduciary, my job as a certified financial planner, 35 years of doing this, I've got to treat your money as if it were my money and I were in the same situation. That is a different story. I don't have emotional attachment with your side of the money. It can be pure logic, fact based, not emotional based. We don't sell products. So it's not a matter of, if I feel this way, you'll have to buy that. That's not the case. We're fiduciaries. We get paid for advice. The better you do, the better we do. That's just the way that it works. But if you happen to have put all of your money in the market and you can't bear taking it out with the market decline we're currently experiencing here mid-2022, then one of those options is, if you're over 62 and you haven't started Social Security, is to consider using Social Security now, taking in income, and then if the market does rebound, if that's what you believe will happen, then you can take money out of the market at an appreciated price, pay Social Security back, reset the program, and start again at age 70. Every now and then we'll have somebody give us the same question about home equity. Joe, I've got a home equity line of credit, a HELOC, they call it. Or I can just flat out go to the bank, the house is paid for, and refinance it, remortgage it. Should I do that? I've got some rental properties. Should I do that? Those may sound like some of the same questions, but they're really different because of taxation, and you need to understand that. If you borrow money out of taxes, a good friend of my wife texted her, don't know why, Barb was kind of baffled, but she got a text message from him this week that said, can a business borrow $500,000 and then give $250,000 of that to a charity? And the answer is, you can always borrow money and give it to a charity. The question is it deductible and is it taxable? When you borrow money, it is not treated as taxable income. If I have to pull money off the line of credit, thank you, Lord, we have no money off our line of credit at the Financial Enhancement Group. But if I had to pull money off the line of credit, we're going to pay the bank interest because it's a business. We could deduct the interest. If I pulled money off my home equity line of credit, Barb and I would get money. We don't have to pay any taxes on that money. We borrowed the money. We have to pay it back. And we don't get a deduction on that money under the current tax code unless we're able to itemize, number one, and number two, we use it to make the house better. Those are strict rules with using that. But we could, if we needed to, if we wanted to supplement our income, or if I had all of my money invested in assets that I couldn't liquidate or didn't want to liquidate at the current price, I could turn on that mechanism to be able to have income that was starting to come in, that was coming from the loan side as opposed to being able to pull it out of the market. I could give my distribution methodology out of my retirement accounts, if you will, some time off to recoup or to catch a breath and try to see what's coming in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, depending on how much I can borrow and how much extra income I truly need. Now, these are important things, but what I think is perhaps the most important thing for each and every one of us is to always learn. I journal. I journal every single day. And one of the things you need to write down, in my opinion, especially if you're going to be your own fiduciary, Lord knows Adam Harder, our CFA, Chief Investment Officer, one of my partners, the Financial Enhancement Group, every time we go to buy a stock, Adam writes down why we bought it. And when we sold it, Adam writes down why we sold it. Remember, you got to be able to do the two things. I think that is a very, very important thing to do. When something works well in my life, I try to record it. This worked out well. Not only was I content, I was happy. This worked out well. Why? What worked so well? It can't be just that a price went up. What part of my process, and I will always go back to golf likely because it's easier for me to figure out, if I hit a ball well and the ball goes in the hole, I look at it and try to think to myself, what did I do? What was going through my mind? What were my swing thoughts? What was my putter thought as I was going through that? From an investment side, I always write down what I did. Well, we are in one of those crunch times, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but I certainly noticed this. Volatility, major volatility, has sped up. When I started in the industry in '87, you had some rough times in the early '90s, but you really didn't have anything major again change until the tech wreck. And, so you're dealing with 14 years, let's just call it. You didn't have any really major changes from that until '08 or '09, so let's call it 8 years. And then you didn't really have any major changes until the pandemic. We're back up to 12, all right? And, you had some stuff in between, but, so-so. And now we're seeing this volatility come much, much quicker and much, much deeper. Many, many, many more parts are moving. And so you really, really want to be smart about managing those emotions, making sure that you learn from this so that you don't have that problem next time. I think one of the key things to learn or to write down and understand is know that there are many things that can happen, but only one will. And I think when most people prepare their own financial plans, their own fiduciaries, they're set up for an event. They're set up for, if the market goes up, this is what happens. Or if the market goes down, this is what happens. Or if the IRS raises taxes, this is what happens. What we need to be prepared for, what we're prepared for at the Financial Enhancement Group, are the things that can happen every day. Many things can happen that don't. Only one will. You've got to be prepared for that event when it comes to this. So should you use additional income streams to take care of income in uncertain times? Possibly. But if you were allocated correctly, probably not. That's why you need a fiduciary. That's why you need to have somebody outside of your emotional realm. Good luck out there. It can be scary.